They want to marry you so fast, and heaven may have just revealed why. My beloved child, do not scroll away from this message too quickly, because the speed of what is unfolding around this connection may be trying to tell you something deeper than you first realized. Stay till the end. Because the biggest reason this person feels such a powerful desire to move toward commitment has not been revealed yet. At first, you may have wondered why everything seems to be moving so quickly. Why would someone begin thinking about marriage before years of uncertainty have passed? Why would they feel such urgency? Why would their minds suddenly begin imagining rings, a home, shared mornings, future plans, family conversations, and a life built beside you? It could seem surprising. Maybe even overwhelming. But what is happening inside this person does not feel like panic. It feels like recognition. Something about you has created a kind of clarity they have not experienced before. They may have spent years believing love was supposed to be complicated. That uncertainty was normal. That people were supposed to spend endless seasons questioning what they felt. Then you entered their life. And something became strangely quiet inside them. Not boring. Not empty. Peaceful. For the first time, they are beginning to understand that love does not always have to feel like an emotional storm. Sometimes the person who changes your future is the person who makes your spirit stop fighting. And beloved, that is only the first layer. Do not skip this, because what they realized afterward changed everything. There was a season in this person's life when they believed they had plenty of time. Time to figure themselves out. Time to decide what they wanted. Time to postpone difficult conversations. Time to wait until every circumstance looked perfect. But life taught them something. Perfect timing rarely arrives looking perfect. Sometimes clarity arrives while circumstances are still rearranging themselves. Sometimes the door begins opening before you feel completely ready to walk through it. And when this person looks at you now, something inside them keeps saying, "Why keep delaying what already feels different?" That question has become difficult for them to ignore. They are not simply attracted to you. They are studying the peace they experience around you. They notice how conversations with you stay in their mind. They notice how ordinary moments somehow feel more meaningful. They notice the way you handle disappointment. The way you continue moving after difficult seasons. The way you care without always needing attention for it. The way strength and tenderness can exist inside the same person. And slowly, something is happening. Admiration is becoming certainty. Curiosity is becoming vision. Emotion is becoming intention. My beloved child, stay with me, because the deepest reason they want commitment has not been spoken yet. There is something unusual about finally meeting someone who carries qualities you thought you might never find together in one person. Maybe this person has met attractive people before. Interesting people. Successful people. Exciting people. People who gave them butterflies. But attraction alone does not explain what is happening here. Because when they imagine losing you, they are not simply afraid of losing romance. They are afraid of losing the kind of connection that could become home. That realization shook them. They began asking themselves questions they did not expect. What if I spend years searching for what is already standing in front of me? What if I allow old fears to ruin something healthy? What if I delay so long that the opportunity disappears? And perhaps most importantly, What if certainty does not always need years to announce itself? That does not mean love should become reckless. Real marriage requires trust, honesty, compatibility, mutual desire, respect. Conversations about values, responsibilities, expectations, finances, family, boundaries, and the future. But the desire inside this person is becoming powerful because they no longer want fear alone to control the pace of their heart. There is another layer. And this one has everything to do with timing. Beloved, there are seasons when life appears completely frozen. You pray. You wait. You prepare. You wonder why nothing changes. Doors remain closed. People leave. Plans collapse. Answers seem delayed. Then suddenly, something shifts. One conversation creates an opportunity. One decision opens a door. One meeting changes direction. One relationship begins changing the way you imagine the next 10 years. What seemed delayed begins moving. And that is the energy surrounding this connection. Not a guarantee. Not a command from heaven to ignore wisdom. But a powerful picture of acceleration after waiting. Your soulmate may feel as though several parts of life are beginning to align at once. Perhaps they are becoming clearer about their career. Perhaps they are healing old emotional patterns. Perhaps priorities that once seemed confusing are becoming simple. Perhaps they no longer feel interested in temporary connections. Perhaps they are beginning to value peace more than excitement. And then there is you, standing in the middle of that transformation. Suddenly, marriage does not feel like some distant idea reserved for another version of themselves. It feels imaginable, real, close. And what heaven revealed next changes everything. Because this person may not only be thinking about how you make them feel. They are thinking about who they become around you. That is a completely different kind of realization. Around the wrong people, they may have felt the need to perform. To prove themselves. To hide insecurity. To chase validation. To constantly wonder where they stood. But around you, something softer may happen. They breathe differently. They think more clearly. They imagine becoming more responsible rather than more careless. They begin wanting to build instead of simply experience. They begin wanting to protect what is meaningful instead of constantly searching for what is new. That is why their mind keeps returning to marriage. Because marriage, in their imagination, is no longer simply a ceremony. It represents choosing, building, staying, growing. Creating something that survives difficult seasons. And when they place you inside that picture, the future suddenly feels less abstract. Stay with me, beloved, because even this is not the biggest reason they feel they cannot keep waiting. Something has changed in the way they see your value. Perhaps they once assumed that people like you were easy to find. Someone loyal. Someone emotionally mature. Someone who listens. Someone who can laugh in ordinary moments. Someone who has survived enough to understand pain without letting pain make them cruel. Someone capable of loving deeply without completely losing themselves. Someone who can dream and still remain grounded. But the more they have lived, the more they understand that these qualities are not ordinary. And once a person recognizes rarity, they begin behaving differently. They stop assuming tomorrow will always offer another chance. They stop treating connection casually. They begin protecting what matters. This is where the urgency becomes understandable. It is not, "I need to marry this person immediately because I am afraid." It is closer to, "I finally understand what this connection means, and I do not want unnecessary hesitation to destroy something worth building." There is wisdom in that difference. And now the story becomes even deeper. Your soulmate has begun imagining details. Not fantasy alone. Details. They have pictured waking up and realizing you are no longer someone they have to miss. They have imagined sharing coffee in the morning while talking about an ordinary day. They have imagined grocery lists, bills, unexpected problems, long drives, family gatherings, celebrations, quiet evenings when neither of you needs to say very much. They have imagined being beside you when life is beautiful. But more importantly, they have wondered what it would feel like to be beside you when life becomes difficult. That is when attraction begins turning into commitment. Because anyone can imagine a wedding. Commitment begins when someone imagines the years after the wedding and still wants to choose you. This person may be imagining building a home where both of you can breathe. Creating traditions. Celebrating anniversaries. Supporting each other's dreams. Taking turns being strong. Learning each other's weaknesses without using them as weapons. Growing older. Looking back one day and realizing that 1,000 ordinary days became a beautiful life. Beloved, those pictures are doing something powerful inside them. They no longer see you only as someone they love. They are beginning to see you as someone they could build with. But even that is not the final reason. There is another truth connected to purpose. Some relationships consume all your energy. Others multiply it. Some connections make both people smaller because everything becomes about insecurity, jealousy, and control. But a healthy union can create expansion. Two people encouraging each other. Two people becoming more disciplined. Two people helping each other recover after disappointment. Two people sharing ideas. Two people carrying responsibilities together. Two people saying, "You do not have to carry every burden alone." That kind of partnership can create opportunities neither person would have created in isolation. And this may be one reason the connection feels connected to blessing. Not because marriage magically creates money. Not because love guarantees success. Not because heaven owes anyone a perfect life. But because the right partnership can create emotional stability. Stability creates focus. Encouragement creates confidence. Shared goals create momentum. Mutual support makes difficult seasons easier to survive. And when two people become stronger together, new possibilities often appear. Your soulmate may sense this. They may look at you and think, "We could build something. Maybe a family. Maybe a business. Maybe a peaceful home. Maybe a creative dream. Maybe a life where the people around us experience more love because we learned how to love each other well." This is not only about who walks beside you. It is about who you become when the right person finally walks beside you. And suddenly, the desire for marriage begins to carry a deeper meaning. Legacy. The word itself may sound large. But legacy is often built through small things. The way you speak to each other. The emotional environment you create at home. The way future children, relatives, friends, or people around you witness respect. The patterns you choose not to repeat. The unhealthy cycles you decide to end. Maybe one of you grew up watching love become silence. Maybe the other watched love become conflict. Maybe both of you learned early that people sometimes leave when life becomes hard. Then perhaps part of your shared purpose is learning something different. Communication instead of avoidance. Respect instead of control. Consistency instead of uncertainty. Healing instead of repeating. This person may not have language for all of that yet. They may simply know. When I picture building differently, I picture doing it with you. And beloved, something inside them has started becoming impatient with unnecessary delay. Not impatient with you. Not demanding. Not controlling. Impatient with their own old habit of overthinking good things until they disappear. That distinction matters. Because healthy love does not force. Healthy love invites. Healthy commitment is chosen by two people. The soulmate's urgency may be real, but your readiness matters too. Their certainty does not erase your questions. Their desire does not replace honest conversation. If this connection is truly meaningful, it will be able to survive wisdom. It will survive questions. It will survive getting to know each other more deeply. It will survive conversations about the parts of marriage that are not romantic. Because real love does not become weaker when reality enters the room. It becomes clearer. And perhaps that is exactly what this person wants. Clarity. For a long time, they may have mistaken emotional chaos for passion. They may have thought the strongest relationships were the ones filled with dramatic uncertainty. People leaving. Returning. Confessing. Disappearing. Testing each other. Keeping one another guessing. Then something about your presence challenged that belief. You showed them another possibility. That love can be deep without being destructive. That attraction can exist beside respect. That mystery does not have to mean confusion. That commitment does not have to feel like losing freedom. That choosing someone can actually create a deeper kind of freedom because you are no longer wasting emotional energy asking whether you should keep searching. This realization is changing them. They may not have told you everything yet. But somewhere inside, they are beginning to feel. I am tired of running from what brings me peace. And heaven's message in this story is not that speed alone proves destiny. Speed proves nothing by itself. But sometimes emotional clarity arrives quickly because the person has spent years becoming ready before the relationship ever appeared. Think about that. Maybe they were not preparing for you by name. But life was preparing them through every disappointment. Every failed connection. Every lesson. Every lonely season. Every moment they were forced to confront what they truly valued. By the time they met you, they already knew what they did not want. And perhaps that is why recognizing what they do want happened faster than expected. Years of lessons can create moments of sudden clarity. This may be the divine acceleration they are experiencing. Not skipping growth. Not avoiding wisdom. But finally seeing the result of growth. What once required years of confusion now requires one honest realization. What once felt impossible now feels simple. They want you in their future. And the more they accept that truth, the less interested they become in pretending they need endless time to admit it. But the final revelation is still coming. There is one last reason beneath all the others. Beneath the attraction. Beneath the timing. Beneath the peace. Beneath the vision of marriage. Beneath the shared purpose. Beneath the future they can suddenly see. The deepest reason is connected to loss. Not the fear that creates control. The awareness that creates gratitude. At some point, your soulmate imagined a future where they had waited too long. Maybe they pictured you moving on. Finding someone who recognized your value sooner. Building the life they once imagined with you beside someone else. And unexpectedly, that thought affected them more deeply than they expected. It revealed something. People often discover what matters when they imagine its absence. Suddenly they were forced to ask themselves, if this person disappeared from my life tomorrow, would I regret staying silent? Would I regret pretending I needed more time? Would I regret allowing fear to speak louder than love? Would I spend years wondering what might have happened if I had simply been honest? And beloved, their answer frightened them. Yes. They would regret it. That may be the moment everything changed. Because now the urgency is no longer about reaching a wedding quickly. It is about reaching honesty quickly. Reaching courage quickly. Reaching the conversation quickly. Reaching the place where both of you can finally say what you want without hiding behind uncertainty. Marriage may be where their imagination is going. But honesty is the first destination. And that is healthier. Because before rings, there should be truth. Before promises, understanding. Before forever, mutual choice. This person is beginning to understand that love does not become more meaningful simply because it remains unresolved for years. Sometimes people romanticize waiting. They believe if something is truly powerful, it must be complicated. But your soulmate is beginning to see something different. Maybe the strongest love is not the one that keeps two people confused. Maybe the strongest love is the one that eventually gives both people courage to become clear. That is the final shift. They no longer want fear making decisions for them. They no longer want old disappointment telling them every new relationship will end like the last one. They no longer want pride to keep important words trapped inside. They no longer want to assume there will always be another chance. They have reached the emotional truth at the center of everything. I know what this person means to me, and I do not want fear to make the decision for me. That is why they want to move. That is why the idea of marriage feels closer. That is why the connection suddenly carries such urgency. Not because love should be reckless. Because meaningful love should eventually become courageous. My beloved child, perhaps this season is teaching both of you that there is a difference between rushing and recognizing. Rushing ignores reality. Recognition pays attention to reality and still says, this deserves to be explored seriously. Rushing pressures. Recognition communicates. Rushing fears questions. Recognition welcomes them. Rushing wants a promise without preparation. Recognition wants both people to become ready for the promise they are considering. And if this person truly wants a future with you, those qualities will begin showing through their actions. Patience. Consistency. Honesty. Respect. Effort. Clear conversations. The willingness to listen to your hopes as seriously as they speak about their own. Because marriage cannot be one person's revelation. It must become two people's decision. Maybe that is where heaven's timing becomes most beautiful. Not when someone forces a door open, but when two people discover they are both ready to walk through it. And perhaps what is unfolding now is the beginning of that discovery. A waiting season may be ending. Confusion may be losing its power. Someone who once hesitated may be finding courage. Someone who thought love required endless uncertainty may finally be realizing that peace can be profound. And somewhere in their heart, they keep returning to the same conclusion. You are not someone they want to lose while pretending they need forever to decide. You are someone they want to understand more deeply. Choose intentionally. Build carefully with. And possibly, one day, stand beside and say, we stopped letting fear delay the life we were ready to create. So when you ask why they want to marry you so fast, the answer is not one dramatic reason. It is everything. Recognition. Timing. Peace. Admiration. Growth. Purpose. The future they can suddenly imagine. And finally, the realization that something rare should not be carelessly postponed simply because courage arrived sooner than expected. The deepest revelation was never that they wanted to rush toward marriage. It was that meeting you made them stop wanting to run away from certainty. And sometimes, beloved, the moment that changes your entire future is the moment someone finally decides that fear will no longer be allowed to choose what love was brave enough to reveal.